Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Amplify Your Business. Today, we're going to be talking to a new entrepreneur to Canada. Well, relatively new, but not really a new entrepreneur per se, because this fellow has three businesses going at the same time as he's trying to finish his PhD. So, welcome to the show, Darlington, Etaje. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for having me here.
You're very welcome. And so you're the co-founder of Physics Inspired Drilling Simulator, which will shorten to Phi Drill Sim going forward here, I think, so it's not such a mouthful. But tell me a little bit about this business that you have going and what you're trying to accomplish or trying to solve in the drilling industry.
Thank you so much, Johnson, for that question. The last couple of years, I came into research and I realized that, first of all, I was trying to solve a problem without understanding the system of the problem, right? And I worked so hard for about 2-3 years and I realized that I was going about it the wrong way. And so I went back into the drawing board to understand the engine room of the drilling process and eventually created a virtual drilling app. And I realized that this problem of reinventing the wheel, learning new old things in a new way, will not be good for every researcher. And so I decided to convert it into a business where we can help train engineers to build on a platform that is already there, not starting from scratch like I did, and also to accelerate the process of solving drilling problems. Because without solving drilling problems, the industry will not be sustainable. It costs about $60,000 a day to drill a well. So you can imagine that if you lose several days because there's a stock pipe, then you will not have the drilling industry be sustainable even in downturns or low oil price. And so that's the reason and the drive to educate drilling engineers about the drilling process and help researchers to build on my platform to achieve faster drilling technologies and also to solve drilling problems through drilling optimization. Thank you.
Yeah, and so obviously Alberta, you're down in Calgary right now. Alberta is a hotbed of drilling in most years anyway. I mean, we have had a bit of a downturn, but it's starting to pick back up again. And this is something that I presume would be applicable globally as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's very correct, Lance. Actually, globally, the drilling process is the same, but in Alberta, we drill basically onshore. In Nigeria, where I come from, it's offshore drilling. But at the end of the day, when you hit the ground running, it's still the same drilling process. So if you solve a problem here, you can apply it globally. And most of the companies that have their headquarters in Calgary actually have companies, branches across the world. So if you're in agreement with them that you're solving a particular problem here, they can implement the same solution across the globe in all their wells. So yeah, it's a problem, it's a solution that can be implemented globally.
Yeah, very good. And so you're at the pre-revenue stage at this point. So how far along is your product or service offering, the app, I guess, the solution that you're going to provide to people? How far along are you in the development process of it?
So the biggest part of the development process is to build a well path design into the app, because usually what companies do is that they pay Halliburtons of this world for their software in order to link that development of the well path. But in my app, everything is in one place. So the core to make me fly is already in the app. So right now I'm just doing customer interviews to improve the app, getting what the customer think is important as problems and giving them that solution from my app. So we've built a prototype that can represent a virtual drilling rig, but now we are going towards solving drilling problems one after the other, according to what the customer says.
Okay. And so right now I'd imagine you're building relationships with all the major drilling companies out there and doing some research and some demonstration of what this tool or what this application can really do for their business. Then I suspect that's where you're at today, right?
Yes, and here's a key question that I'm asking the customers this day is, what keeps you awake at night? You know,
Yeah.
I've spoken to a drilling manager who runs about 20 wells and oversees a lot of country drilling processes. And he says to me, these are the 4 problems. And he was, you know, rubbing his head. You could see his expression during the interview. And that is where I make my money, right? Because if he tells me the most important problem, I pick the lowest hanging fruit and implement it into the app and then go back to them. And then we do some review together to see that it fits the purpose of solving the problem in the way they need it solved, right?
Yep.
So yes, I'm speaking to lots of industries, from the oil producers, who are the ones who actually own the money that pays everyone, to the drilling contractors. And in terms of drilling contractors, you can be looking at directional drilling processes. You can be looking at the contractors that own the rig, right? And all the other service companies. I'm interviewing everybody across the board to see how my project and this company can relate with all of them so that we can all make money together.
Yeah, that's exciting. Now, are you the only player in this marketplace then that's providing a solution that is, you know, app based, that you have the simulator and everything, or is this a space in which you have other competitors?
Yes, we do have other competitors. Most of them, I've done some competition analysis. Most of them have their products fragmented because obviously in the same company, ideas come from different engineers. And so everyone that comes up with an idea has their idea broken into different pieces of the pie. And then they sell those products individually to customers. But one of the feedback I've gotten from the interviews I've done is that this is one of the first, Hydrosim is one of the first products that has everything in one app, right? And so that's a huge step forward for us. The competition have fragmented products and therefore will cost more money. Ours has everything in one app. And so we are not looking at the drilling problem from one point of view. We are looking at it from different perspectives, right? And we are having all the different perspectives of drilling talking to each other in our app, which is really, really, really exciting.
Yeah, it definitely is, and this is one of the things that you know, entrepreneurs need to be thinking about when they're trying to solve a problem. Is, okay, well, how can I differentiate myself from the marketplace? You obviously are doing it by unifying it all, but what I love about it is that you are actually going out there doing the interviews, you're having these conversations with the people who are actually using it, and really getting that market research nailed down in terms of what are the key things that keep them up at night, what are the problems, what are the key things that are going to have them go, yes, I need this solution from you, Darlington, as opposed to the competition. And you're going to have a leg up by having all that data and all that consultation that you're doing at the front end. So good on you for doing that. So one of the reasons why, or how we actually found you, Darlington, is that you are part of the first inaugural cohort of the Alberta Catalyzer program. And I understand you just finished the first 6 weeks of that program. Can you tell me a little bit about the program and how you basically got accepted into it?
Thank you so much, Lance. I'm part of the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Calgary. And I've taken some startup essential courses with Platform Calgary. And in one of their newsletters, they talked about the Alberta Pre-Accelerator program at the time. Now the name of the program is the Alberta Catalyzer program. And the goal of the program is to raise 900 companies by 2030, and also to employ, so that these companies can employ 20,000 Albertans into job and raise a revenue of $5 billion, right? And obviously that triggered my interest because I want to be among those 900 companies. And as part of the first few people that learned about the opportunity, I applied and I got in, fortunately. And it's been an awesome 6 weeks of intensive training and guidance from coaches. And so every week we have a 2-hour training session and 1-hour session with our coach, and a series of assignments. And right now I put myself into the program effectively and did all my assignments. And I have different perspectives of my business that I never thought of before. For instance, I now know my product roadmap. I know my customer story map. I know my customer journey map. and so many maps that the catalyzer has given us to do.
Yeah, yeah, I would imagine that's just such a huge leg up because you come from the academic background. You're, as we mentioned at the top of the show, you're pursuing your PhD right now, almost have it completed, and so you're the researcher, you're the brains, but you're not necessarily gifted on the entrepreneurial side, right? You don't have that business background, and so that's what this is all about: is to really help you identify how to successfully establish your company and then really rapidly grow it. And so 6 weeks is completed. It's a 3-part program, right? So you're going to be starting up again in April, I think you said?
Yes, if I'm fortunate to be selected to go to the next phase. Actually, going back to that thing that you said about a business background, I do have a little bit of some courses from High School of Business, but not in the detail that Alberta Catalyzer program has given to me. And I would say one of the biggest benefit is that from the academia, we are very closed loop, in the sense that we keep everything to ourselves and we're so excited with what we're doing and we think it's the greatest product in the world. But when you go to the Alberta Catalyzer program, they're saying to you, it's not about what you think, it's about what the customer thinks, right? If the customer doesn't like your product, then you won't make any sale, basically, right? So, and what this has done is has made me go out there and look for engineers and engineering managers and ask a lot of questions. I will give you one of the biggest discoveries I made. One of the engineers from Schlumberger said that there's some problems that they can only detect in 50 to 70 hertz, which is 70 data points per second. And I was dealing with the second data. So I had to go back and start converting my app to something that can be a frequency navigator. So if the data is coming from any frequency level, I can easily detect problems in that particular dimension. So you see that solution only came from the answers that I got from the interviewees, right? So, and that's just one I've mentioned to you. There's several of them out there. And actually my products and services, which I now know, have been defined by those interviews. And I have seen where the needs really, really are, and I've pivoted to make sure that my solution would meet those needs and not just solutions to make me excited, right? So academia gives you the technical know-how, which is very important, but the interviews and the business process gives you the business entrepreneurial success path that you need to take to become the next anything big out there.
Yeah, completely. And so I'm curious about the target date for when you will be generating some revenue. So when will you have this simulator on the market selling it?
Well, thank you so much. So I have, in terms of my products and services, I have one service, which is drilling process training, and then 2 products. The first product is to help engineering researchers to develop their products and test it on my app to validate their research. The second product is to optimize drilling processes by helping drilling engineers on the field. In terms of the service, which is drilling process training, I am good to go right now for sale. And I already have one customer looking out for me next month, all the way in Nigeria, for drilling process training. And so I'm charging about $3,000 per class, if that makes any difference. Thank you for publicizing that for me. And but in terms of the other products, there will be need for field testing. I'm already testing with field data, but I will be testing. So what I'm doing with the customer interview is, when I speak to the customers to the point where we agree on the solution that I'm giving to the problem that they mentioned, then the next question, and I'm with that in I'm in this level of conversation with some of them, they will now bring their own data and test with my app. And if the results are looking good, I will also then progress to move with them to a field test. And if that also works out fine, then we can now go back to the academia and say, we now have a validated product that can be used for training, for supporting drilling researchers to improve their and speed up their technology building process, and also go to potential drilling companies to say, why not use this app to optimize your drilling processes? So you see, one, the service is ready to go because I don't need any validation. The training is there. I have my professor working with me. So whatever information we train people on will be very effective training and proven models. But for the app, the product itself, the app would have to go into some validation phase right now.
Okay. And so what are you anticipating? How long will that validation process or step take?
Thank you so much. So right now, within the next 3 months, that validation process should be almost done. Okay. I'll tell you, validation never ends because we'll take the validation for the next 3 months and achieve some kind of positive results and go into the field testing. So several products means several problems being solved means several levels of validation, right? So if I validate one product, like maybe parameter optimization, if I validate that, then the next thing to do, I can start using that to sell to customers. If I want to validate something that has to do with the Beat Defender, which is one of the products I have, then I can add that to the list and start selling that to customers. So for each problem I solve on the app, when that is validated, it goes to the market. Then the next one added. So you keep updating your app along the line.
Yeah, yeah. So it's an ever growing suite of solutions, basically, that you can provide them. So just out of curiosity, what has been the biggest challenge that you've faced to getting from, idea in the lab or in your classes there at the university through to where you're at today, where you're out there validating and will be doing some field testing really shortly?
Well, there are two challenges I would say are big, one on the technical side and one on the entrepreneurial side. I think the business process always likes to say to you, jump into and speak to customers, which is good. But in terms of a very technical process, you should have a very good technical background. I initially was skipping that step, my initial ideas in drilling, and I was jumping into the market, but I realized that I couldn't answer some questions or even understand the answers that were being given. So I came back to the drawing board and got my technical side really, really balanced, right? So you need to know your stuff. Now, when you know your stuff, which is the biggest challenge, the next thing is to know who you're speaking to, know who to speak to, right? And go out there, leave the building, get out of the building. I think that's a big challenge for a lot of people because a lot of people are introverts most of the time, especially people in my field. But you can't, if you really care about the solution, the problems that people are facing, you should go and speak to them, and those are the two things that have been the biggest hurdle. And by the grace of God, I've overcome them. So the first one is the technical know-how. So if I tell you I have a drilling app and I don't know how to create an app, then that's a big challenge, right? So I've gone all the way down to understand the knowledge of building app in the platform that I build it on, and also the drilling process, right? So when I'm speaking to someone, they know that I know what I'm talking about, right? And then the next thing is to not rely on just my knowledge, go out there and speak to people. And initially I was having a challenge getting the right people, but now that I know what I'm talking about, they also want to listen to me, right?
Yeah.
Because I always make it every conversation a give and take, right? You would give me a lot, but I will deliberately give you something, right? And that I know you need. So we share, it's all about sharing, right?
Yeah, I love that approach for sure, because there has to be some value in it for those people who are at the early stages of your product development, right? So, yeah,
exactly.
And eventually, when you have something that's going to solve their problems, I mean, I imagine that they're pretty excited to be talking about that potential anyway. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I really appreciate you sharing the story. Now, I understand as well that you are going to become a citizen here. So you wrote your test, you're just waiting for the ceremony. So congratulations on that. I might be one of the first people that get to congratulate you on becoming a Canadian citizen. And so this is an exciting story as well. In my mind is, the people who are coming to Canada, who are bringing the knowledge, the expertise, the excitement, the entrepreneurial drive, and are creating businesses here in our province, in Alberta, in our country, Canada. I mean, it's just such a thing to celebrate. And so congratulations on becoming a citizen, and congratulations on the start for this business that you've already begun.
Yeah, thank you so much. I want to pick on something that you said there, that we bring in the drive. I think for me, that was the only thing I brought, the drive. I didn't really bring much of knowledge because everything that I'm talking to you about today, I learned it while in Canada, right? With all due respect to my home country, but the biggest trainings that I've got has been here in Canada. I've been in school for 7 years now. I did my master's at the U of C, and I did it for 3 years. And my PhD, this is my 4th year. And everything that I'm doing in my research, I heard it for the first time here in Canada, right? So I'm really grateful. And that's what being a citizen means to me. It's really understanding the Canadian mindset, that we're not about just getting things done anyhow. We're about getting things done the proper way and making sure that integrity is very important in every part of the process, right? And that's what being a Canadian means, integrity and excellence. And I'm really excited that I'm part of that process. You know, I can beat my chest today and say I will be a Canadian citizen with integrity and displaying excellence. So that's my joy. And thanks for the congratulatory messages.
Well, you're an inspiration to all of us who are Canadians at birth, who somewhat take that for granted. And so it's really nice to be able to look into the eyes of a new Canadian and really hear what it means to you to be, part of this great country that we have here. And so we really appreciate that, and the energy that you're bringing, and the success that you're going to have. It's going to really help us grow our economy and grow the jobs and everything else, especially at a time now when we're trying to rebound out of the pandemic. And there's just lots of different dynamics out there globally. And so for you to be able to do that here is really great for everybody involved. So good on you. So thank you again. I really appreciate it, Darlington, the time that you've taken to explain your business, share your story. And for those of you who are interested in watching any of our past episodes, you can head over to amplifyyourbusiness.ca. That's where the archives are. And if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur who has a great story that you want to share, there's an application form there so that you can be featured on a future episode. Until then, everybody stay safe. And thank you again, Darlington.